Support for this podcast comes from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative, connecting communities with the resources, infrastructure, and networks to ensure a vibrant local free press.
From KVPR in Fresno, this is Central Valley Daily. It's Wednesday, December 4th. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Every year on Thanksgiving, millions tune in to watch the National Dog Show. And this year, a Central Valley man was the only judge for the Best in Show category. He awarded the grand prize to Vito the pug.
On that night, the pug really got my attention from when he first came into the ring.
We'll hear more about his judging process in just a few minutes, but first, today's headlines. Democrat Adam Gray is declaring victory in the race for the 13th Congressional District. That's after new votes were counted in Fresno County last night. The district includes the communities of Merced, Madera, and Coalinga. Gray now leads Republican incumbent John Duarte by 187 votes. Counties have until Thursday to certify election results. This was the last race in the country that had yet to be called for the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans will retain control of the chamber, but with a slimmer majority. A new bill could help speed up California's notoriously slow vote counting process. USWU, with our partner Cal Matters, has more.
Assemblymember Mark Berman, a Palo Alto Democrat, has announced a bill to speed up vote counting in California. Details of the bill are slim, but Berman says he'll be consulting county election officials about their needs in the coming months. Voting access advocates say some things that could make a big difference would be funding for more staff and better vote counting equipment, like high-speed tabulators. This Thursday is the deadline for counties to certify their election results, but as of Monday, there were still tens of thousands of votes left to count. The slow count is partly because of California's sizable population with 22 million registered voters. Vote by mail is also widespread, and it takes longer to count mail-in ballots.
That was USWU with Cal Matters. State legislators have reduced the number of bills they can each introduce. This came during the legislature's kickoff on Monday. Members of the Assembly and State Senate will now be limited to 35 bills each during a 2-year legislative session, Cal Matters reports. The decision was made by leaders from both chambers. They say having fewer bills introduced within a legislative session will allow officials to focus better and use their limited time more efficiently. In the most recent session, legislators introduced a total of just over 4,800 bills. Respiratory illnesses are on the rise in the Fresno area and putting local hospitals at risk of reaching capacity. Officials with the Fresno County Department of Public Health say more people are showing up at emergency rooms with respiratory symptoms. Causes include COVID-19, the common flu, and RSV. Health officials are asking residents to use common practices to avoid getting sick or spreading these infectious illnesses. They recommend taking prescribed medications, wearing a mask in crowded places, and washing hands frequently. Alaska Airlines has become the latest airline to launch a nonstop service from Fresno to Mexico. The flights will take customers directly to the city of Guadalajara from the Fresno Yosemite International Airport. The service will run now through February 12th. The announcement comes just as holiday travel is starting to pick up. Fresno and Guadalajara became sister cities in 2022.
Support for Central Valley Daily comes from Fresno Mazda, part of the Prieto Automotive family, with special holiday financing deals on select models through the end of the year at the new showroom on Blackstone and Barstow. Information at myfresnomazda.com.
And now to our main story. It's an annual tradition for many families. Every year, after watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, millions tune into another beloved spectacle on the NBC network.
23rd year, a warm welcome to the 2024 National Dog Show presented by Purina and hosted by the Kennel Club of Philadelphia.
This year, those who tuned into the broadcast got to see a face familiar to the Central Valley make the big decision.
Judging Best in Show is Mr. George Milutinovich from Fresno, California.
And Best in Show tonight goes to the pug. Thank you very much.
That's George Milutinovich being introduced as the judge of the Best in Show category. As the only judge, he awarded the grand prize to a cute and serious-faced pug named Vito. We wanted to learn more about the world of dog show judging. Milutinovich joined me in the KVPR studio and first told me what sparked the invention of dog shows.
The original purpose of dog shows was to judge breeding stock. Breeders would get together and compare each other's dogs and bloodlines and see what they needed to improve within their own bloodline. And it's evolved into something a little more than that now, but the responsibility is still there to keep foremost in your mind that we are judging breeding stock, and can the dog before us in the show ring do the task for which it was originally bred?
Okay, that was one of my questions, is what really are you judging? And is the dog's personality or sort of spirit a factor, or are you purely evaluating their features? What's going on in your head? Well,
it's a dog show, so of course the personality and the way the dog acts or performs plays a part into it. But ultimately, every breed that the American Kennel Club recognizes has a written standard. I like to say it's kind of like a blueprint of what the ideal specimen of each breed should look like. And while the perfect specimen hasn't been bred yet, that's what we're constantly searching for, is what dog comes the closest to its written breed standard.
And have you ever seen a dog suddenly become shy or skittish, or are most pretty naturalized to the process by the time they get to you?
Of course, you find in puppies or younger dogs without the experience of being at a show, where they may be a little timid or a little bit unassured. But judges take their time in reassuring the dog that they're in a safe place and a comfortable place. By the time they get to shows such as the National Dog Show or Philadelphia or Westminster or something like that, these are seasoned dogs that are very much used to everything around them, and they love what they do. That's a very important thing. No dog is ever at shows that doesn't want to be there. They have the personality, the demeanor. They love what they do and can't wait for the next weekend to be somewhere else.
So I hope this isn't bad to draw this comparison, but when you say that, it makes me think of people showing horses, and I know that can be an investment and lucrative.
Oh, very much so.
Is that the same with these dog shows?
Financially, of course, the payoff at a dog show is nowhere near what it is, for example, with a racehorse. Most shows around the country, there is no cash prize, or if there is, it's minimal. But the rewards are for breeders, improving their breed. We're fortunate because reputable breeders do a lot of health testing and genetic testing, and they go to great lengths to produce sound of mind and body and healthy, purebred dogs. And that's the important thing I'd like to stress about purebred dogs. All dogs are important, all dogs have their place, but purebred dogs were bred for a specific purpose. And while we like to keep the bloodlines pure and on track with what their original purpose was, we see a lot of things going on now where people are into designer breeds, where they'll take, a doodle or, they'll mix different breeds. And while they're very cute and attractive and all of that, the integrity of the bloodline isn't there. And a trait that you might have from one particular breed that you're hoping to get in this mixed breed, which is really what it is, it may not surface. So it's kind of a slippery slope when people get into putting too much emphasis on designer breeds.
So speaking of the dogs, let's kind of wind back to the crowned winner, Vito the pug.
Yes.
You judged him against 6 other dogs that had won in different categories. There
Correct.
Was among them Verde the Welsh Terrier, Houston the Clumber Spaniel, Monty the Giant Schnauzer. What made Vito the pug stand out to you from the rest?
Well, as I said, it's who comes closest to their written breed standard. And on that night, the pug just really got my attention from when he first came into the ring. All of the 7 were very, very worthy representatives of their group. And frankly, a case could have been made for any one of them to be awarded the top award that night. Vito, from the time He was put on went around the ring. They put him on. The handler put him on the table. He was in outstanding condition. Everything about him, his short, compact body. He had excellent muscle tone. He was happy. He was on the move. When the handler went to move the dog, he moved beautifully. He didn't put a foot down wrong. I mean, he absolutely was spectacular.
So what was that like for you personally to get to judge that event? I know you've been doing this for over 2 decades. Was that a personal high for you as well?
Of course it is. Every show in the United States is important. And I want to stress, too, that in everybody's community throughout the United States, there's dog shows every weekend. And these all-breed clubs and specialty clubs work diligently to promote our sport in their communities and to let the public know what a wonderful sport and what a wonderful thing it is to own a purebred dog. Having said that, it's an honor to be judge at any of these shows. But there are those few very, very select shows where when the envelope comes in the mail, for example, inviting you, or that phone call comes, that it kind of shocks you, puts you in awe, it scares you. There's just a little bit of everything, every emotion that goes along with it. But ultimately, it's a culmination of a lot of years of trying to do your best when you're in the ring that appears to be rewarded.
That was my conversation with George Milutinovich from Fresno. He judged this year's Best in Show category at the National Dog Show. And that does it for today's show. Today's episode was produced by Jonathan Linden and KVPR with support from the Central Valley Journalism Collaborative. I'm Elizabeth Arkalian. Find the latest local news anytime at kvpr.org.
We could all use a little help navigating the news these days. The Consider This podcast wants to give you a hand. 6 days a week, we'll help you make sense of the day's biggest news story and what it means for you in less than 15 minutes. Listen now to the Consider This podcast from NPR.